Welcome to the Free Thinking Forum. My name is Reverend Bill Weir. I'm substituting for our regular host, Dr. David Breeden, who will be back next week. I'm, as you see on the screen, I'm a member of First Unitarian Society and invite you to get more information about it. But one of the very interesting guests that we had on a recent morning at the forum was Donna Minter, PhD and LP.
Licensed psychologist.
Executive Director of the Minnesota Peacebuilding Leadership Institute.
That's right.
Tell us about your background, Donna. That's quite an accomplishment.
Well, I was for over 15 years, I've practiced neuropsychology in St. Paul at an epilepsy center, and I've also done mental health evaluations for the courts in both Minnesota and Wisconsin. And back in 2008, I was looking for another way to be able to serve the community with my psychology background. And I learned about the STAR training, Strategies for Trauma Awareness and Resilience. Yes. And took the training myself and down in Virginia, and then decided, there are people here in Minnesota that would probably like to take this training. So put on the first one in 2010 with the intention that it would only be one. And we've had 9 trainings so far because it's been so popular.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You found something that was needed here in Minnesota.
Yes.
And peacebuilding through trauma awareness and resilience.
Yes.
The STAR training.
The STAR training. What it does is we look at the psychological trauma for both individuals and communities, and then we teach principles of restorative justice, nonviolent conflict transformation, and peacebuilding to address those issues of psychological trauma for individuals and communities.
Good. Now, today we are going to focus on an event on the lunar eclipse.
That's right.
The Lunafest, a set of 4 short films at Edina Cinema, the 50th in France?
Yes, I've rented space at the Edina Cinema on Tuesday, April 15th, 2014, from 7 to 9 that evening.
Well, we know that is tax day.
It is tax day, and when I chose that date, what I looked at is what would be a good date midweek to have this event. And I thought, boy, it'd be really great to have this on a full moon.
So it's a full moon?
It was a full moon, and when I looked at the April calendar, it also happened to be a total lunar eclipse. And I thought, what better day to have Lunafest?
And your sponsor is Lunabar.com.
That's right. That's right.
Some of us have eaten Luna Bar.
They're great, aren't they? Yes, yeah.
But they apparently put 100% of Lunafest net proceeds go to charity.
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
And is that your charity alone?
No, there are 2 charities. One is their national beneficiary, which is the Breast Cancer Fund.
Oh,
and
good.
15% of the net ticket proceeds of the event go to the Breast Cancer Fund. Mm-hmm. And the other 85% will go to the local nonprofit, which is the Minnesota Peacebuilding Leadership Institute, or Peacebuilding for short, we call it.
Well, good. Now, this is a by, for, and about women films.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I see you're going to show all these films on one evening at between 7 and 9?
Yes, yes. Well, they're all short films. The shortest one, I think, is about 4 minutes. And the longest one is about 21 minutes.
Oh, yes, I see the times on here. Flying Anne will take 21 minutes.
That's right. It's about a young girl and how she deals with her Tourette's syndrome.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's an important insight. To navigate life with her tics.
That's right.
That is Tourette's syndrome. And it looks like a lot of fun.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. One of the primary films, one of the first films that's shown is called Granny's Got Game.
What's that?
It is a basketball team of women who are all over 70.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
lively grannies.
Absolutely. They are competitive and determined. There's a film trailer that has like a kind of a minute and a half of kind of an overview of all the films.
And where do people see that?
They could go to Vimeo, that's Vimeo.com, and the number is 73...
Oh, they have to have a backslash.
A slash, I'm sorry, Vimeo.com/73181619.
Now, we can repeat that later, but they can see the trailer for the Lunafest films. Now, is this only here in Minneapolis?
No, it's all over the nation. Every year, Luna Bars, they've been doing this for 13 years.
Wow.
Across the nation, and they invite small nonprofits like ours to apply to be a partner. Mm-hmm. And so when I found out about this in early November, I thought, boy, this might be the perfect thing for us, because we don't discriminate in our trainings. We want men there as well, but so far 85% of our graduates are women. And so when I sent that information to them, they were like, we want you as a partner. So our program got accepted, or our organization got accepted, and so we're putting this on in April.
Now, I see a coupon here. If people get this, and they can send in an entry to the sweepstakes? What's that?
What that is at the end of the film. So when people come to the films on April 15th, from 7 to 9. At the end, we give them, at the beginning, we give them one of these brochures, and at the end, we ask them to fill out this very simple survey. And if they fill it out and send it in, or fill it out online later, then they're automatically entered into the sweepstakes to go to the next Lunafest. That's, I think, it's the one held in San Francisco, which is where it originated.
Sort of a national gathering.
Yes.
Of all the lucky people whose names have been drawn from filling out this form.
Right.
Good. Would you care to tell us more about the films at this point, or would you rather tell us more about your Peacebuilding Institute?
Well, we can talk about the films since we'll kind of look at it here. There's one, as we mentioned, the one about the young girl who has Tourette's syndrome and how she really navigates life with that difficulty so that she can really rise above the difficulties that she has to have a great life. It's really about building resilience. Next one is actually a cartoon called Sidewalk. And it's about how a woman walks through life and confronts her changing body and learns to love herself. Because as we get older, all of our bodies change. So it's about how do we love ourselves in the face of growing older. Mm-hmm. There's another one about a young woman. It's called First Match. It's a young woman who is a determined female wrestler. And she is preparing for her first high school match that, what I understand, I actually haven't seen this film, the whole thing, but what I understand, it's a first co-ed match. So she has to wrestle against young
girls
men.
And boys.
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
Great.
And then there's another film that's 8 minutes long called Sound Shadows, and this is really about, the way it's described is entering a world where sound gives shape to space. So this one's a little bit more esoteric, but I think sounds really, really interesting as well. Okay. Yep. Then the next film, the next film that we'll be showing is called Maria of Menti. This one is just shy of 4 minutes. And it's about Maria, who's a Mexican immigrant woman. She's also a domestic worker, and she is a very committed mom and activist. And so it's about her life and how she helps her daughter to be the best that she can be. Okay. The next one is a woman, it's called Running Dry, and this one's about 10 minutes, and it's a woman that has been impacted by economic hardships and decides to go to Athens. And then it's about her adventures there and what life brings her there.
Yeah.
And then there are two more. One's called Date with Fate, which is about blind dating and all the good things and maybe not so good things that
I
happen.
remember blind dating.
Do you?
Yeah.
I remember that as well, absolutely. And then the last one is called Tiny Little Magic, where a woman becomes friends with her mailman and starts to build a relationship through the mail. Doesn't that sound interesting?
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, so it should be a really fun evening.
Now, maybe we should talk more about Minnesota Peacebuilding Leadership Institute. Are you turning out leaders?
We're turning out leaders, peace-building leaders in their communities, giving people skills and information about how to not only in their own life, but also in their community, when bad things happen, how can they be useful and helpful in their community, in their family, in their neighborhood, in their community. So anytime something bad happens, what's something you can do that, how do you be a good listener? What are things that you can do to help people be able to move towards healing and resilience building?
What a marvelous focus.
Well, thank you.
A lot of us need that kind of thing.
Right. That's what I think, yeah.
And are some organizations sometimes sponsors of one of these? A church, for example, or?
There have been that in different parts of the country where organizations put this on, and that's what, actually the Minnesota Peacebuilding Leadership Institute was really developed after we bought the STAR training here to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. We had the STAR training once in June of 2010, and it was so popular that then we went on to offer it with the help of a community advisory committee, went on to offer it an additional 8 times since that time.
8 times?
And then...
So you've got quite an alumni group.
We do. We now have 2 different kinds of trainings, the STAR training as well as a restorative justice training, a single-day restorative justice training. Mm-hmm. And we now have over 200 alumni, graduates from our training program.
Well, no wonder our Twin Cities are becoming more peaceful.
That's right. Well,
you've been peace building.
I'll tell you, when Minnesota is really unique in that already in government organizations there are concepts about like restorative justice that are already in the Department of Corrections. Okay?
Oh, good.
And Minnesota is really unique in that way. A lot of states aren't that forward thinking, but they see the value of concepts of restorative justice even within the Department of Corrections. So they're professionals there. So when they found out, the person, Kay Pranis, that really started that in Minnesota with the Department of Corrections, found out we were doing STAR here. She's like, yeah, Minnesota's ready for STAR, Donna, let's do it. So
good.
Yes, yeah.
So hopefully this will help keep people out of the correctional system.
I hope so, to help people to find some different alternatives about how to, when something bad happens, how to make things better without seeking revenge. It's really positive, productive alternatives to revenge. That's what we teach.
Good. Now, I would think also that there's a need when someone is discharged from a penitentiary for them at times to get in this kind of training. Have you ever done that for a group of recent parolees?
Yeah, people that coming out. We've had a number of people that have been incarcerated come to the STAR training and have found it very helpful. We haven't had it in Minnesota. We haven't had it specifically for that group, which I would love to do. That's one of the things that I would really love to do. We'll see what happens.
Well, having come up with that idea, maybe I'll call the Commissioner of Corrections.
That would be great.
So, we don't talk about money on this program, but you can get more information about Lunafest,
right,
and also about the Minnesota Leadership Training Institute. Peacebuilding Leadership Institute.
Right. For short, we call it Peacebuilding.
Good.
Peacebuilding is like the acronym. It's just the short version. Yep.
And it is a 501c3 organization.
It is.
Recognized by IRS, so that you can instigate, train, and support racially, sexually, culturally,
Ethnically, right, yeah.
religiously, and economically diverse peace-building leaders who are trauma-informed.
And resilience-oriented.
Now,
right.
give me an idea. What do I need to know to be trauma-informed?
Well, what we do is when somebody is trauma-informed, first they understand that trauma isn't just, it certainly is like the medical diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, but it's much broader than that. There are a lot of people that have had bad things happen and they may not meet that medical diagnosis, but they've had historical trauma, okay? Like what's happened to Native Americans and our legacy of slavery. We also look at institutional trauma, poverty, racism, sexism, those kinds of things. So we define trauma very broadly, okay? So that's one way to become trauma-informed. But then we also teach what happens when something bad happens to somebody, what actually happens in the brain and in the body when somebody becomes traumatized, okay? Many of us have heard of the fight and flight and freeze when people get stressed out, okay?
Yeah.
That's a natural reaction. And so what we do is, actually we do it in a really fun way during the training. We do a skit that shows the different parts of the brain and what happens to them when they're under stress, and how they don't work as well when they're under stress and they're traumatized, okay? And then we talk about what allows the brain to calm down and to come back together and to work more efficiently.
A lot of people need that.
I think so too. I think so too.
And I bet the University of Minnesota might have, at the Brain Research Center, might have the capacity to really study this in terms of what's going on in the brain as you try to cope with the trauma.
Yes, I know that there are people already doing it there in various institutes and departments. There also is, I understand, a project there called the ACEs study that a lot of people are familiar with. It's called Adverse Childhood Experiences. And basically it's longitudinal research that shows that the more traumas that a person has in their childhood, the more likely they are to have all different kinds of difficulties as an adult. So many of us mental health providers know that, but this is the research that now has shown that that is absolutely the case. So we have to help ways for people to find ways to heal and then to move on towards resilience.
Yes. Now, what do you mean? What is resilience? Ignoring the situation?
No, I wish, what we talk about is, when, what do most of us hear when when something bad happens? It's like, oh, forget about it, buck up, suck it up. Forgive and forget. We're all probably very familiar with that. Well, at our trainings, we say, you can't forgive and forget. What you can do is remember and change. And you can decide that you want healing to happen without demonizing the other, without revenge. Okay? And then the resilience, well, the whole process is really a resilience building. But the way we define resilience is the ability to bend but not break. So that you shore yourself up. You bring habits, resilience habits, into your life on a regular basis, so that when bad things do happen, you have a greater capacity to bend but not break from those difficulties.
That seems like a good analogy. Bending but not breaking.
Right. Yeah, it's like the trees and the wind. We've all seen that here in Minnesota.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, you say around the world here. Is any of your graduates gone elsewhere?
They have. I have a woman who took the training the first time, is now working as a peacebuilding worker in Kenya. Another young woman who took it the first time went to Belize with the Peace Corps and now is back in Minnesota. But then we've also had people from other countries come here for the trainings. We've had 3 people after the tragedy that happened in Japan with the tsunami and the nuclear explosions there. We had 3 relief and development workers, when they found out about this training, they flew to Minnesota to take our STAR training.
Tremendous.
Yeah, we've had people from the Congo. We have.
We've helped them recover.
Absolutely. Giving them some tools to then be able to go back and teach people there about how can they shore up their resilience and move towards healing.
Now, perhaps you're aware of an international organization called Nonviolent Peace Force.
Yes.
And I understand from the senior advisor there, who we interviewed a few weeks ago, that they're working with the United Nations to build an unarmed civilian peacekeeping a group.
Yes.
I forget the exact
The
word.
Nonviolent Peace Force.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So I imagine this could well be part of the training for the unarmed civilian peacekeepers all over the world.
I think it would be very important for them to have this kind of training, okay? Because, a person or organization doesn't do peace building somewhere, either locally or internationally, unless something bad has happened. I mean, we do peace building in places where it's been traumatized. And it's really important for people that are doing that work to be well prepared, so they understand that they can have all the best intentions, but if they're not taking care of themselves and building their own resilience on an ongoing basis, that they can suffer vicarious trauma or secondary trauma as a result of the bad things that they see or hear.
Yeah, many of my colleagues in the ministry have suffered that indirect or vicarious trauma as they try to help those who are going perhaps on the brink of death.
Absolutely.
Trying to cope with that experience. So I think this is marvelous, and I want to encourage more men to get enrolled in this.
That's right.
We need to stand up to some of these macho guys that are gunning for revenge.
Right. Right. And there are some people that they make a choice, that's what they want. What I think is really important is that people understand that revenge is a choice. It's not something that we're naturally born with. It is a choice a person makes. And just like moving in a healing direction, where you're trying to, when something bad happens, that rather than seeking revenge like that, you're trying to bring it back to things being equal, so that the victim's needs are truly met. Yeah, and some people I've been at when I've had tables at different events, I've explained the model to folks. I had one gentleman said, "Oh, come up and explain your model and what you do and how you do it," and I explained it to him, and I said, we teach positive, productive alternatives to revenge, and he looked at me and he goes, "Well, I like revenge," and I said, "Well, then that is a choice you get to make. I'm going to choose something different, and what I want to do is teach that there is another choice. There are many, many other choices other than revenge. But if that's what they choose, it's a choice."
And all too often that revenge involves a gun.
Oftentimes it does.
We've had the executive director of the Minnesota, what's it called? Protect Minnesota.
Protect Minnesota, yes. I'm on their email list. Yep.
Yes.
Good stuff there. They're doing good work.
So maybe they would like to tap the tremendous resource that you have here to get the STAR training in there for the folks that might be at these gun shows. And can you get people signed up for? You have a one day training, don't you?
We do. We have, right now we have 2 different trainings offered 3 times each in 2014.
Oh, and that's the Restorative Justice 101?
Yeah, it's called Restorative Justice 101, Training for Practice in Everyday Life, or the RJ training. And these are offered, we hold them at Hamline University, And our next training is Friday, March 14th, and it's a whole day. There is a possibility of professionals that need continuing education credit to be able to get continuing education for it as well.
Oh, really? Yeah, that might be important for many of our viewers who need those credits.
Right. I mean, that's
on their professional.
right. Then it becomes a business expense that you're taking the training.
Sure. Learn the history and philosophy of restorative justice and restorative practices. Apply a restorative lens to work with offenders, victims, and community. Experience a simulated restorative conference.
Right.
And explore applications for restorative justice at home, work, school, and community, and world.
That's right. That's right.
So, yes, what a marvelous offering you have, and I can see there might need to be a table at some of these gun shows to sign people up for this.
Well, I'm very open to that. What I also recognize is that there are a lot of people that, there are people all along a spectrum in terms of what their interests are and what they believe. And, there are people that go, oh yeah, they already know this stuff, they practice this in their life. There are people that are on the other end of the spectrum that say, I like revenge, I want revenge. And I go, that's your choice, I respect that you get to take that choice. But there are a lot of us that are in the middle that don't have this information. And so I want to give it to anybody who wants it. And what I suspect, sometimes we'll get people from the farther end of the spectrum, but many of the people are just like, I've never heard of this before. I just really like to know how I can apply these in my life. And that's what we try to do, to help them do.
Donna, you're the executive director of Minnesota Peacebuilding Leadership Institute.
That's right.
And you say that was formed after you found out about the STAR training.
Right.
Are there other, and the restorative justice is one of the additional things that you're doing.
Right.
Beyond the STAR training.
Yeah. We started with the STAR training, and when we saw that it was so popular that we said, okay, we need to have an organization that can administer these, to be the host for the trainings here in Minnesota, and also to be able to register with the state for the continuing education for psychologists, social workers, licensed professional counselors, nurses, educators. And we're also working this year to get this, to get it approved for attorneys. We just think that would be really great to have them. So okay.
Let's have some more attorneys sign up for this.
That would be great. We've had a number of them, and they're like, oh my goodness, this is really important for me to know. Okay? Yeah.
So let's make sure they have the phone number, 612-377-4660.
That's right.
And talk with Donna and get enrolled. And we're almost out of time, Donna. Is there any closing word that you would like to have in 40 seconds or less?
Just that I invite people to give me a call or send me an email and to learn more about this. And also come to Lunafest. It's going to be a really, really fun evening together that benefits our community in a really important way.
Great.
All right.
So, thank you for tuning in. See you at Lunafest, and maybe see you at the STAR training.
All right. Great. Thank you.